Hey, you want to play a board game? Sure. How about Eminent Domain? Oh, you don't like deck builders. Okay, hold on. All right, I got this cooperative game that I think we just reviewed on a channel. Check it out somewhere over here. Oh, yeah, this does take up a lot of space. Oh, last time I played it, I did break the table. Yeah, this is kind of a heavy game. So, all right. Oh, hold on. Hold on a second. How about BattleCrest? Thank you for suffering through my corny intros. This time I'm going to be doing a review of BattleCrest. Yes. So I stumbled upon this game through Kickstarter in searching for any new games or products that I was going to be kickstarting. I came across this game. I'm like, okay, well, first I go figure how much it is. Oh, well, it's not that expensive. Oh, what kind of game is it? Oh, that's kind of interesting. And the more I looked into it, the more interesting it actually got. So obviously, this is a wallet game. This is a game by Button Shy Games. And the lead designers are, and pardon me for looking at my little screen here, Dustin Dobson and Milan Zikovic. And they made this game, really interesting, tiny game. And their whole company is based on, for the most part, making wallet games, something simple that you can throw in your pocket. And when I first saw this, I'm like, all right, look, we're all love big games with big miniatures and big. I'm also a fan of games that have a strategic element. So something like zombie dice are only going to keep me interested for like a short period of time until my brain gets bored and my brain wants something more. And when I looked at it, it's like, okay, it's probably going to be like that. It's going to be a simple game that we can kind of play in for like 5-10 minutes. And I go, okay, now my brain has had a refresher. It's got time to breathe. And now we're on to the next big game for the game night or what have you. But then I actually got the game in and I looked at it, looked good on the Kickstarter. And then I got the game. And the game surprised me. This game surprised me way more than I expected it to. And obviously you're always wondering, is Kickstarter is as good as it is? Maybe it'll surprise you, maybe not. And I'm always willing to be surprised. This was a loop. This threw me for a loop. When I first opened it up and I started learning the rules, and I'm like, the rules, it's like a page, but it packs a lot. And it's not so complicated that it doesn't give me a break from those big games, but it's complicated enough to keep me interested in wanting to play this game over and over again as more of a main game sometimes than some of these bigger games, because sometimes you can just jump right into this game, set it up real quick. If you saw any of our Darkest Dungeon setup, it's a while. You have to get the tokens and the cards, and you got to shuffle this, and you got to move that, and you got to adjust this token, you got to pull that mini, you got to do. It's a lot. It's a great game, and we love it. And we're actually going to be doing more playthroughs of it. But this game surprised the hell out of me. So we're going to go over this game. And then at the end of it, you're gonna get my thoughts. Darkest Dungeon, didn't we have this conversation already? Get out of here. You broke my table last time. All right, so we're gonna go over the base game and all what you get in the base game. We're gonna go over quickly. So some of this is initial setup, and some of this is just little additional rules about how the game functions. I read this about twice, and then I kind of got it. This is not much. Involved in playing this game, and some of these aren't even so this in an index. There's not that much this. Generally, the expansion comes with just an expansion, and any of the cards come with extra little rules, like 1 or 2 rules if there's a new mechanic with the character or something like that. Are the landmark cards. This is what makes you build your map where you're going to battle. So this game is a 1v1 battle game where you take one of the characters and you control one of the characters, and the opponent controls the other character, and you battle it out to the death. And you see who wins and who is victorious. And then you play again, and you shuffle everything up, and you deal it out again. Each one of the cards, the camera focus, has, right here, has a start, it says start. Anytime a card says start, that's what side has to be up when it starts the game. So we're going to go over what these cards mean and all the symbols on them. But at the moment, anytime it says start, that's the side you want showing at the beginning of the game. Throughout the game, it may flip. We're going to play one of the two heroes, and we're going to play Mutiny. Each one of these characters has the same number of cards. They all have 6 cards. So some of them are character cards and minions. Some characters don't have minions. They have more action cards down here. But for the time being, so these are the 2 cards that are going to be on the map. So Mutiny has a little minion that flies around with him to let him do all of his cool stuff. So you don't need the minion, but if you down the minion, you're down a card, so you're going to be a little bit of a disadvantage. But these cards are going to have some interesting information. So let's compare this to the other character that we got in the initial base game. So obviously, Mutiny and Rig are going to be on the field, and these are your action cards. Let's move these to the side for now. And your action cards also denote how much health you have. So the less action cards you have, the less health you're going to have. Because this is the way the tracker is. This marks 10. You take damage 9, 8, 7, 6. Once you go below half, so we're at 6 health now, we take 1 more damage. We're below half. This flips over. And then we have 5 all the way to 1 and to 0. You know, if we're a hero or at 1, we take another point of damage, we die. You know, dying is bad. And remember, Mutiny has 6 cards, but one of those cards is a minion that is going to fly around and do cool stuff. If we compare this with Akenna, Akenna only has her card in play. This is the only card that's in play. Akenna has now 4 abilities, and because there's 4 abilities, she starts with 12 health, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, you know, all the way down to 7, and at 6, she flips over 6 to 0. So she has more health, but she has a minion that she has to deal with when she's fighting Mutiny. She has another target that she has to deal with, and she's only by herself. So she has a little bit more to do. She has to do more by herself, but you know, it is also represented the fact that she has a little bit more health. She has 2 points more health, and she has more actions. So on your turn, you're going to do a variety of actions. Keep in mind, you cannot do the same type of action more than once. So you decide you can do a move action. When you do a move action, you count up all of the icons at the top of the card. Now, throughout the game, some of these cards are going to exhaust, and now the top of the card has no movement, so you only add what's on the top of the card. So as you use cards, your movement is going to be hampered to a degree, and then that'll be represented here. But you notice that we also get other abilities at the tops of cards, which are going to come up important later when we decide to use abilities. So the first thing is going to be movement. So we can take our character card, which is going to be on the map, and move around. So there's no diagonal movement. It's only orthogonal movement. So at the beginning of the game, okay, all our start cards are up. At the beginning of the game, Akenna has 6 movement, compared to Mutiny also has 6 movement, but it's on 3 cards. So if you tap that 3, you're going to feel it when you want to move as Mutiny. And if you use this 3 card here, and you use it for something else, you're not going to have it, right? You only have 3 movement left. You know, using that 1 card cuts your movement in half. As you see here, Akenna's movement is spread up on more cards, so she can move more, even though she's used a lot of her cards. So that's your one action you can do. You can move. So once you move, you can't move anymore with the move action, but there can be cards that can force you to move. So moving in itself is its own thing. And like I said, we get into the forced movement if it comes up later. The second thing we do is we can take an action. So we can take this card and go, okay, I want to do this. I want to do this action. So I tap it to the side, and then I take the action, which means and there's 3 different symbols for attacking. There's crossed swords, which is orthogonal attacking. So here, 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 or here. And then there's crossed axes, which is anywhere around your character. And then there is the bow, which is a ranged attack, as you might expect. So, and it tells you the range. This one, attack 2, bow 3, means that you can shoot 3 spaces away, and it does 2 damage. So we can tap these cards and then take the effect. So I want to take this attack for action. We can take the attack for action so long as the thing is nearby. So we went over move. So tapping a card to take the action is called activate. So I'm activating the card to take the action that it gives me. Some cards have multiple actions, and you take them in order. So you go from the top of the card to the bottom of the card. In this case, force, which is forcing someone to move, hence why you can technically move more than once if you can. You can force someone to move, and then you take the star action. Star actions we're going to get to later, but you always take from the top of the card to the bottom of the card. So in some cases, there we go. We're going to flip this over for just a second. There's an attack 3 swords, which is, so attacking with the swords is considered short distance, which is, like I said, orthogonal. We have medium range, which is the axes, which is anywhere around our character. And then long range, obviously the bow. So in this case, we do a short range attack of 3, so we could potentially do 3 damage. And then we do a slightly longer range attack with a medium range attack, and that attacks for 2 damage. And then so if we use this card, we would do the first attack first, and then we do the second attack, and then the activation of this card is finished. And then it stays exhausted. The third action we can take is called Prime. So that means we take one of our cards. Remember, we can't, so once we activated a card, we can't activate another card again. Let's say we have an ability that uses up some of these symbols. Now there's a symbol mechanic here we haven't looked at yet, but these symbols are important, and we want to get more of those symbols up at this time. So we have this ability that maybe we're in melee range. We really don't need a range attack right now. So I'm going to decide to prime this ability. All it does is taps that card. But you go, hey, wait a minute. You did that with this card. You can't do that again. But the difference is this means when I activate, I take the action. Priming just means I tap the card. I don't take this action at all. I just gain the ability to tap the card. People, you might say, why would you want to do that? You want more actions, albeit that's true. We're going to get into, if you see right here, it's going to give you a little clue of why we might want to do that. And obviously these symbols don't match, but you're going to see that there are some abilities that get boosted based on how many symbols we see on the tops of the cards. So, so we've decided to prime this card, and we use the activate to activate this card. Those are 2 actions. Our turn is done. Now our opponent gets 2 actions to do with what they will, and then it's our turn again. All right, so the third action is to refocus. And what refocusing does is once you've tapped, say you've tapped all the cards, or maybe you only want to, keep these on tap for a reason. You want to keep these ready to go. So we want to refocus right now. So we take one of our actions and we flip these cards over and we untap them. And now you see some of our movement has changed. So this went from a 1 to a 2, and this also went from a 1 to a 2. So, and also the actions changed, and the defense and the symbols changed. So this really adds into the strategy of the game. And if you notice when I went over the health, when you go below half health, you also get a free symbol based on your character. You ever want to look at the back of your hero card will give you what kind of symbols your character uses. And from what I've seen, every character has 3 of each symbol. They're spread out on the cards as well as the back of the health card. So this is the third blue symbol, only triggers when you're below half health, which is going to happen most likely. But yeah, so these are the 3 symbols you use, but where they are on the cards differs. So this one has a blue symbol and is a purple symbol. This one has an orange symbol and a purple symbol. So as the game goes on, you're going to get different abilities at different times that require different symbols to boost them up. So the question is, do you want to kind of prime up an ability and then be able to, in this case, say, I know a big hit's going to come, or I have a feeling that a big hit's really going to come. I'm going to take a lot of damage. We have these defensive abilities on the bottoms of the cards. When we get attacked, we can choose to defend. We can tap the defense card, and we gain the defense listed amount. So this is 1 shield, which is 1 defense, plus all of our purple symbols. Well, we have 2 purple symbols. So this is a defense of 3. That's a big defense. So we haven't gotten to attacking yet, but this is just kind of like a generic, this is how characters work. And that, like I said, as you take damage, this little token moves down, and then you kind of continue play until one of you is victorious. The game includes these landmark cards. These are, there's only one set, there's a 6 of these cards. Everything seems to be sets of 6s, which is good. And these are the 6 landmark cards, and they are also double-sided, and they also have a start side and a not start side. If I can get in range here. And there's going to be all these different symbols on these cards. And this is the map. This is what makes the map in the game. And you shuffle these up, making sure all the start sides are on top. And then you go through and start, playing the game. This will determine what abilities are where and kind of how you have to maneuver through the map. So this is the starting map. And then the players get to place it. And obviously they're going to have all their abilities over here. obviously, near them so they can see what's going on. And then they're going to place their character. Now, there is a placement rules, but we're just going to skip ahead of that. And then Mutiny is going to have all of his ability cards off to the side in front of that player. And then they're going to place themselves over here. And then they're going to place their minions. So like I said, they have an extra minion in play that can do stuff that Mutiny kind of has to work around, but also gains a benefit for being out there. But because every character only has 6 cards, which includes their health card, Mutiny only has 3 action cards, double-sided, versus Akena's 4 action cards, which means Mutiny is a little weaker, but they do have a health character. The minion does have health of its own and a defense, and they also have a little bit less health as the character, but they do have the minion. But the minion is going to help them kind of break a little bit of the rules to be able to bypass the extra health that Akena might have. Every character is going to have their own shtick and their own ability to manipulate the game in some way. So like I said, so Akena is very much a melee-focused character. They do have some ranged abilities, but they're not their strongest abilities. So they really want to get in close, and they really want to get in to do some damage. And the order of your abilities doesn't matter so long as they start on the start side. So as we said, we move. Since this is the first turn, Akena decides to move, and she has 6 movement, so she can move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right? There's no diagonal movement, with the exception of these landmark cards. They give you a couple of them do give you shortcuts. And remember, the border of the map is actually extends out 1 card past the landmark cards. You can be out here. You can be kind of living out here. You do have to be at least adjacent to one of the cards. You can't just be kind of floating out of nowhere. You have to be adjacent to at least a card. And every time you take an action, you must change the game state in some way. It means you can't move and not move. You have to move at least somewhere. You have to move at least one spot, which hence change the game state. Or if you tap one of your cards, if you take your card and you tap it, that's a change of the game state. If you refocus, you flip over cards, changes the game state. You must change the game state in some way. You can't turtle up and kind of sit in a corner and not do anything. All right, so like I said, Akena can move 6, but you want to be careful because Mutiny is much more of a ranged character than Akena. So you want to be careful to get close enough and be able to do stuff, but you don't want to be caught out and take a lot of damage. So maybe we move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Maybe we hang out here because if we're going to take a look at some of these landmark cards here. So this landmark card has a couple of different things on it. So first thing, it has this ability and this ability here. This ability is grayed out, which kind of tells you what's on the other side of the card. So when this card flips over, this ability becomes active, and this ability deactivates. Every one of these landmark cards has a star ability. We're going to go over that in just the next section. But if you're standing on this side and you get attacked, this symbol means you get a +1 defense. Regardless of whether you actually needed it or not. Say you used an ability that you mitigated the damage and you didn't need the extra 1. Regardless if you needed the extra 1 or not, the extra 1 is added and the card flips. In this case, this adds 2 range, and this adds 2 range to your next range ability. So if you happen to be standing right here, your character happen to be standing right here, use the range ability, you're going to get an increased range. Yet again, regardless if you need it or not, use the range ability, you're going to be able to activate this card, and then it flips over again. So it keeps flipping back and forth as you use those special powers on the sides of the landmark cards. The landmark cards also, some of them have these shortcut arrows, which are right here. This tells you, so normally you can't move through these at all. These are impassable terrain. But if you happen to be standing on this side of the card and you still have some movement left, you can choose to move as one movement through the card. You can never land on top of the card, but you can use this shortcut to either move across the card or over to the side here and be able to use a shortcut to pass through. Remember, each one has these little star abilities. If you happen to use a star ability while you're adjacent to this, you can use that star ability, or you can use your own star ability. Some of the cards here have what is called a hazard. This just causes damage. Every time you move next to this card, it causes you a point of damage that is unblockable. So if I'm forced to move next to this, I take a point of damage. And let's say the enemy keeps moving me back and forth. Every time I move next to this card, it's 1 damage, move away, 1 damage, move away, 1 damage. So it's a very dangerous spot. And this does not cause the card to flip over, unlike the other symbols here. So you see the little arrow means if it's used, it flips over. This one doesn't have the flip over sign. So this keeps happening. But in this case, you notice that the hatchet icon isn't on both sides. So the hazard icon is grayed out here, which means it doesn't happen. But for some reason, if an ability causes this card to flip over, now the hazard is activated and now bad stuff can happen. So we might want to move here because we're going to get this extra defense, and this character is probably going to have the range it needs to get into range. So that's one of our actions. And maybe the other one of our action is to prime an ability to maybe give us a little bit of extra defense because we're expecting to be attacked. So maybe we tap one of our cards. But remember, when you tap the card, you can't use that ability until you flip it over and flip it back again. So that's, that's a little bit of concern. So you're going to lose whatever ability when you prime cards. Or maybe want to prime a card to kind of prepare for a big attack next turn, which would be something we might want to do. Mutiny can move. When Mutiny moves, his rig, his minion, can also move, and the rig has its own set of movements. So Mutiny is going to move based on their cards. So in this point, because they haven't tapped any cards, it's going to be 6. So say rig moves somewhere on the board. Say 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? Let's say they move 4. And then rig can move. Let's say they have their health icon, they have their movement, and they have their shields. So if we look into this card here, their icons are right here. Their stats for the minions are right here. So they have 1 health. There's a damage side and an undamaged side. So there's no actual health. So this card can be flipped back and forth. So there's a heart indicating whether it's at health or damaged. The 3 indicates their movement, and the 2 indicates how many shields they have innately. And they have their ability right here, which is anytime that it's in close range, they can't defend. This is kind of how that Mutiny breaks through some defenses, this character. But this thing can be destroyed, and part of the gameplay for Mutiny is to keep this thing alive as long as possible while dealing as much damage as they can. So they want to move 3, so they can move 1, 2, 3, not quite close enough to get in range, but maybe for a later turn, maybe you want to move over here to use that shortcut maybe next turn. And then maybe Mutiny shoots with one of their abilities, and we may defend it. Remember I said defending is tapping one of our cards. Let's see, we have this card here. And if we tap this card, and we can see the defense is 1 plus purple symbols, and one of the cards we tapped earlier, we primed a purple symbol not in hopes, but expecting to be attacked. So we can tap this card here and gain 2 defense because it's 1 plus the purple symbols. But remember, we got this defense here, so it's technically 3. So we can absorb up to 3 points of damage that Mutiny might do to us, whatever ability they have, and then we'll take any remaining damage. And then because we use this defense, this flips over, and then turns continue on. We're just going to go over one more turn. Let's say we really want to destroy Rig. Rig is really going to give us problems. And let's change the game state here. Let's say we've eventually moved over here. In our battle, we've taken some damage. We're at 7 life or whatever the case may be. We've taken some damage, but we're really trying to get Rig out of the game because Rig's really kind of starting to bother us because we can't defend. Now we've taken maybe a couple of big shots and trying to get to Mutiny and take Mutiny out is super fast, but man, this player is really good at putting Rig in the way, using Rig to kind of foil our plan. So we're going to really try to take out Rig. So we used 1 action. And then we use this ability here. So we're going to use this card. So it's 1 plus purple symbols. And it's that close range attack. So it has to be next to us here, 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 or here. And obviously Rig is right next to us, ready to be attacked. And we use Stellar Swing. Right, so the card says 1 plus purple symbols. And let's say we have 1 purple symbol. So it's going to do 2 points of damage. But they have a 2 defense here. So they would absorb the 2 damage and not take damage. But if we happen to have an extra symbol, so we do 3 damage, that defeats this damage. And if you do any type of damage, if it's 1 damage, if it's 100 damage, it doesn't matter. When you hit a minion, they immediately flip over. If you break their shields and do extra damage, over damage, you immediately flip them over, and now they're on their broken side. And we've used that card. But remember, this card has a second ability on it, and it's the star ability. So the star ability, each one of the characters has a star power. And you can use this ability. And when you use this ability, just read the words. You may always swap a Kenna with a warrior in range. So, and that's effectively, I can swap like this if I use the star ability and move over. Let's say I want to separate Mutiny from Rig, because Mutiny star power may let him, or Rig's star power lets him, if he's in range, repair him. So we want to make sure that this can't happen. So we want to give as much distance between the two as possible. And then we do damage 2 plus our blue symbols, which we happen to have 1 activated. So it's 3 damage within medium range, which is anywhere adjacent to us. Medium range, anywhere adjacent to us. So if we wanted to, we can, even though we separated them, we damaged Rig, we could technically attack Mutiny with this power. If we really wanted to. We can also use any star ability that's on an adjacent landmark. So we can use this star ability, which is a March 3. We can use this ability, which is a March 2. March means you move yourself. And Force means you force someone else to move. Okay, so adjacent does mean that we can use this ability. Any of these 3 abilities, because we are adjacent to this card. Yeah, so March is for self-movement. So you can march your character. So if I decide to take this March 2 or March 3, I can move my character away or towards an enemy. And Force allows the warrior to move any other warrior, ally, or enemy up to a number of given spaces. So if you're deciding to play 2-on-2, you can move your friend into or out of position. So maybe you want to try to save their life. They're low on health. They're going to get hit. You can maybe use a Force to move them away, but March is always for your own character. But that's what these things do. This lets you attack with 2 targets. So we might want to actually do this ability and attack, but even though this has got an attack of 3, so this isn't going to hurt them all that much. But yeah, so we can choose to use our star ability or any star abilities that we have, which would be on these cards. The way this works in AI is a little bit differently, but for your active player, your player character, you can use any of those star moves. That's what the star moves do. They're a variety. They're kind of like a special move, and you can use any star abilities that you have at your access. Key point, one of these cards gives you 2 stars back to back. I believe it's this one. Yes. There is one card here. I believe almost every character or every character has one of these where you get star and then star. The only exception to this is you can't use the same star move. So if I used my special move for my character as my first star, the second star here, I can't use the same move. I have to use maybe a landmark card or some other ability. So in the case of Mutiny and Rig, and if Rig was over here, damaged up, Rig can use Rig's star move to flip over, and then Mutiny can use his own star move to do something else. So, yeah, the star moves are kind of like special moves where it's your character has something that they like to do, but also the board will also change and give you options like an attack 2 at range 4, March 2, Force 2, but only within close range. So all these different ones have different abilities, and you're going to have to figure out. Remember, these aren't always in this location. These are going to be shuffled up every game, and they're going to be flipped over from time to time. So this is going to expand the game depending on which one of these cards is face up, tapped. Do I refocus? Do I burn an action to refocus? That means I'm only going to have 1 action on my turn. The strategy in this game is way more deceptively involved than you would think in a pocket game. The game also includes this card here, which is that AI card that I told you about. This is Kenna's AI card. And it obviously has, full artwork on the one side. And this is a piece of paper. It's not a card. And then you have the AI instructions. Even though this comes in the base game, the AI mechanic and basically expansion only comes in if you actually get the first expansion, which is this right here. And you need these cards here to basically play in the solo version where you have one of the characters run as an AI, and then one of these characters run as you're trying to beat the AI, you versus the AI. And these are also double-sided, and there are rules for flipping them and not flipping them. And this card, what it lets you do is this kind of pilots the AI for you. It tells you, do they move and how they move? And this gives you kind of like a tiebreaker mechanic right here. Do they activate a card? Which card do they activate? And if they refocus, depending on how many cards they have left, whenever they select an action card, it's either to the left or to the right. And then also, is their defense value affected this turn? So sometimes this is a plus defense value, sometimes this is a minus defense value, and this card will give you all the rules you need, plus the card for the character, which is this card here, all the rules you need to figure out how to play the characters and how to pilot them with the AI cards, and then so you can fight the AI. You just basically can play this game solo. This is the solo expansion. This one also comes with 2 new heroes. We're not going to go through all the cards here. We're going to try to keep this short and sweet because Whisper, which is a cool little flying kind of chimera. And it comes with Aura. It's a little minion pet. And then we have Forge, the armor-clad warrior. Comes with his Captain America shield. And this is one of the cards. This actually, even though this isn't a minion, this doesn't actually get played, and this isn't an action card. This kind of sits to the side and can kind of explode into defense and potentially damage. And this can prevent damage, but once it kind of blows up, it's kind of done. You know, yeah. So it flips over. So the first ability here can absorb some damage, and then it flips over, and then it can explode, kind of doing damage. But then you discard it forever, and you're just down a card. So a very tanky character, and you have all these symbols, all the special symbols that this character uses. Remember, they usually get 3 of each. One of them, it's on their HP card. And then there's artwork is really cool in this game. Yeah, the one thing I would want more of these. I want more of the landmark cards. They only give you the one set, even though I bought all the expansions. There are hopefully going to be coming out with more expansion cards, but I'm going to talk about that in my final thoughts part of this video. But yeah, that's how you play BattleCrest. Now here's my final thoughts on this game. My suggestion is, if you appreciated, or you actually looked at this game and my explanation of it and said, man, I think me and my group are really going to get a kick out of that game. My suggestion is pick up everything, right? For the most part. I picked up everything that they offer at this moment. I picked up everything that they offer, and it is significantly cheaper than a lot of other games that I picked. Even smaller games that I picked up are still pushing the $30 to $45, sometimes $60 price point, and albeit they're good games. I mean, I picked them up and I still have them in my collection, but there are sometimes where it's $60 and okay, and this is a much cheaper, and I'm still getting as much of enjoyment out of this game than I do out of some of those other games. So my suggestion, if you like what you see here, pick up most of it. So, I mean, what I picked up here, I picked up the base game, which comes with this little wallet thing. I picked up the first expansion, which is the expansion collection #1. I picked up the Corvu hero set, new hero. I picked up the Palv hero set because Christmas, and it's a giant snowman and bubble snowman mecha punch you in the face character. I picked up the alternate art character, so if you have multiple copies of the game, with the alternate art characters, you can now have 2 of the same character on the table, and you can tell them apart because the art's different. All the abilities are the same, but the art's different. And then this is one of the ones you probably could skip. These are the AI cards. This is for the single player expansion. These cards, I'll give you like beautiful front art cards. And on the back, they give you special rules on how to run the AI. This is in the first expansion. There was a AI mechanic where you can play solo. The cards that came with it, the explanation of the AI rules was actually a piece of paper with it printed on there instead of a card. This is just an upgrade to make them cards. So if you want cards, you don't want to deal with the little pieces of paper like this. You know, they came on a little piece of paper like this, and they had the information on front and back. Well, that's how the AI cards came. This gives you the AI cards as actual cards. So probably the least required part of this, but each one of these comes with 2 characters. There's 2 characters in here. There's this is the expansion. There's 2 characters in here, and here's the AI, how to run the AI, and all the cards you need to run the solo game. This is the base game, which comes with 2 different characters, and also the landmark or the location cards that come in this game, which you kind of need. You kind of need this to run the game. This is the requirement part of getting the game. So you need this, which gives you 2 characters, and the landmark cards. This gives you the AI component and 2 more characters. And then my suggestion is, if you're really into this game, you pick up the 2 expansion characters here, Palv and Corvu, the lizard man of punchiness, and then the abominable snowman of I freeze you to death. but it's thumbs up. It's thumbs up all the way. Where I know other people who aren't really into strategy, they picked it up pretty easily. And for me, the flipping mechanic of the cards flip over, the cards tap, and then they exhaust. And then when do I flip my cards over? Do I want to flip over all my cards? Do I want to flip over certain cards? Do I want to set up this icon for that icon? So the strategy of this game is there, but the games are fast. So you can get in, beat up each other, who wins, start it over again. And also enjoy the mechanic of how the health mechanic is. Your player cards are in front of you, and then you have that health tracker, which then if you go below half health, gives you another one of those icons to help your character become a little bit more powerful. You get a little bit of an extra boost at the end of the game if you're below half health, which may entice you to take some damage to be able to defend more, or to do more damage, or just to do more. And for a game that is this big, this gave me more strategy than I ever was expecting out of a game like this. That can fit in your pocket, it can fit in your bag, it can fit just about anywhere. Obviously, it's a card game, so you probably can't play outdoors. But we all like to be inside anyway. So yeah, we don't do outdoors. The sun. But yeah, inexpensive game, but don't let the price point fool you. This is a deep game for what you're getting, and really interesting packaging. You get the little wallet, thing you can kind of throw in your pocket, throw in your bag. You don't even notice that you're carrying it, and all of a sudden you're in a 2-player game. You can technically play a 4-player game if you have 2 extra characters. I will say my one complaint, and the way the rules read, they are hopefully planning on coming out with more landmark cards. That'd be my one complaint. Like, I know more characters, good. More characters, good. I like more characters. There's 2 characters here. There's 2 characters here. There's 2 characters here. They have 6 characters. We have a variety of characters. We only have the 1 set of landmark cards, and I would love more. I would love a whole set with maybe comes with 2 more characters, and it comes with a whole landmark set, and maybe a whole different base set, or where you can get, or maybe whole new collections where it just comes with two sets of landmarks, so you can mix and match them, or even if they're not mix and matchable, whatever. I want more landmark cards. I want more of this game, just more of this game. And you take a look at their website. I'm going to link the website somewhere down in the thingy below if you want to take a look at their website. I know that when it was prior to the Christmas, this is when I picked up these, just because they were just actually releasing these. So I went ahead and buy them up so I can at least get them, because I was concerned that they would sell out. But I think the last time I checked, they were still available on their website. So if you're interested, head over there. They don't sponsor us. I just think it's a cool game. And well, this is Steve from Nothing Venture, Nothing Gained. May all your die rolls be crits, and may you always roll max damage. See you later.